I brought a,
What? Sorry, Bill?
I brought an acquisition I just recently got.
Great.
So,
In fact, we can kick it off with you if you wish once we get done with Paul, and we can hand off to you for a little show and tell.
Well, let's see. So it's June 9th, New England Vintage Electronics Club once again continues the Zoom tradition, and it's show season. So we've had Kutztown and now on to Brookline and a lot of stuff to look at. The nice thing about this is that, none of this stuff has to come to your house. You can just look at it virtually without wondering where you can put it or how to sneak it in. So I will leave it be at that. And if Bill has something he would like to kick off with before we hit the pictures.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got a very small acquisition. It's not really old, but it represents something old. So now you don't see it, and now you do. This is a nearly perfect reproduction of the telegraph key that was on the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
In 1912.
Wow.
And I say nearly perfect. The only thing that isn't perfect is this was the last one the guy had, and he didn't have the reduced labels to put on it. So it doesn't have the labels, but otherwise it's, if you looked on Tom's website and called up wireless keys, this is the first key that shows on his website.
How interesting.
Tom helped broker me getting this, so I want to acknowledge that and thank him for putting me in touch with the gentleman that made these.
How cool. Is that the scale too?
Yes, is what I think. What I think he said 1/3, right? I can't believe that. It's because
Wow.
the original is 5 inches by 9 inches. And this is under 2 by under 3.
John, could you enable screen sharing, and I will show Bill's key next to the original?
Absolutely. Got it, Tom.
Okay, let's see if we can get this up. There we go. Okay, so in the back, actually, it's not the original. This is a full-size replica in the back made by a British machinist, and the tiny little key in the front is what Bill has. It was made by David Halle, who is a Vermonter, and every single detail on this, including the thread pitch and the screws, he took my original version of the key and copied it exactly, so it is absolutely identical to the real thing. And you might ask what that big lever is in the back. First of all, it's the reason that this is called the guillotine key, like you're going to slice off someone's head with it. But actually that lever allowed the key to be taken out of the circuit if the high current had welded its contacts together. This key was made to key a spark transmitter on the Titanic and on its sister ship, this model of key. And there was so much current that sometimes these contacts that you see back in there would weld themselves together. And in that case, you'd stand a good chance of damaging the transmitter because it'd be in the transmit mode constantly. And so you had a rope that went up to the ceiling of the Radio Shack, and you'd yank on that rope, and that would pull this lever up and break the circuit and make it so that you didn't burn out the transmitter. I have another view of it. You can see the guillotine lever a little bit better here, and maybe this one's better. I don't know. Bill, I'm sorry, maybe you want to say some more about it.
That's cool. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate the perspective.
That's fine. Let me see if I can pin my own thing here. I can.
David figures that he has about 600 man hours in that key.
Wow.
So it's an extremely time intensive job. And it is, I think, the finest that he's ever made.
If you'll notice on this so-called guillotine lever, there's actually a little screw eye there. And that was what hooked to the rope that went up to a pulley in the ceiling and hung down. So if you needed to do an emergency shutdown, you just grabbed the rope and pulled it, and this lever opened up.
How interesting. Wow, that's really cool, Bill. That's a special acquisition.
Oh, it is. It's the star of my miniatures collection.
Nice. Takes very little space too.
Pardon?
It takes very little space as well.
That's true. That's true.
You'll have to show us your miniature collection someday, Bill. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think I brought it up once or twice, but it's a mixture of miniature keys that were actually working keys, just made small, and true miniatures like the Benell Triumph key that was sold in the at the turn of the century as a probably a lot of people got them as retirement gifts and whatnot for telegraphers. But
Okay.
it was,
How interesting. Well, thank you, Bill. That was great. That was a treat. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I'm sure you will. That's a real
I
show
don't
piece.
think we'll be seeing that on the free table anytime soon.
There'll be a pile up. There'll be a scrum to get that one.
you give me a heart attack when you say that. That cost a few shekels. So.
Yeah,
can
probably, but boy, there'd be some lucky person if that showed up. But great. Well, thank you. That's awesome. Well, then I guess they anyone else have anything else to show before I show some pics?
I have a little something I picked up. Maybe I'll show it at the end, but we just go.
All right.
Oh,
Your choice here.
No, you go ahead.
See. All right. Well, then let me share my screen. Everyone can see our fearless leader, Jeanette.
Yay, Jeanette.
I try to always start our pictures with the people that actually keep things organized and man the gates, so to speak.
Like you were coming in the door.
Exactly. But so at any rate, I'll just go along here and see what we see. Of course, we think we know who that table belongs to. Very familiar with anyone who's looking for enigmas. It says right there, you can't miss it.
I'm around. Come, says the sign. Hey, just as a general note for anybody who wasn't up there, we really lucked out on the weather. It was kind of damp and actually raining in Boston. But as you got a little further north, it was just some cloud cover and the mist had kind of lifted. But later in the day, it did get rather warm and kind of sticky. So we really lucked out in that the cloud cover provided a little break from the heat. And it was nice to have that dry window too. So it really kind of worked out well for everybody, especially the tailgaters.
I agree. It was
nice day to buy and sell. Not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah, because the next day was super hot. So yeah, we lucked out. We did. The gods of vintage electronics smiled upon us.
That's right.
But, so for anybody who remembers the last Zoom meeting where Tom had picked up this desk, I could not resist taking a photo of it because the irony was all too clear. It was there. And we actually, was there a for sale sign on that, Tom?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So did it move, by the way, or did it have to go?
No, and nobody would pay my price. And I thought that radio was in perfect contrast with it. That was off the free table. I just put it there for the picture.
I couldn't resist. I had to put it up, you know. It didn't last long at home. But it is
No,
cool.
my wife said that is not staying.
It is cool, though. It's hard not to like it. I think it's like pretty nifty. Look at those legs, those iron legs. That's probably, well, you know, pretty hefty to move around.
Well, the neat thing is that the darn thing grows as the kid grows, and the desk can go way up and the chair can go way up, so it'll accommodate the growing of a child.
Yeah, there you go. I actually, you know, it's really quite cool. And that's probably from, I don't know, 30s. You know,
No, way earlier. I think it was 1900 actually.
wow, that's cool. I like it.
And Tom, thanks for putting the radio case back on the free table. I have it now. So.
Oh, okay, Russ.
There we go. All right. So a partial happy ending, but not really the happy ending you were looking for.
Oh, my wife is still speaking with me, but the only reason is I promised I'd get rid of it.
That's funny.
This
Whoops,
is
sorry.
this is
Sorry
a
about that.
Russian. This is a Russian cipher machine that is similar or exactly the same as the machine that the Russians are using now. It's extremely complex, 10 rotors instead of the 3 that an Enigma has, and unbelievably difficult to crack. The NSA will neither confirm nor deny that they can crack the code from this thing. And the Russians use these things in the back of radio trucks for communications, very secure communications. They also put a guarded circle around the truck, 200 meters, and you get shot if you walk inside the 200-meter circle. They want this thing to be absolutely secure. And here it is sitting in a flea market in Brookline.
I don't remember seeing a red circle. I'm kind of glad because I might have been in trouble here given how close I was.
Tom, what do you think is like a year of manufacture for that item?
They were made in the 60s, but they continued to be made. And I know they were in use in the early 2000s for sure. And I believe they're still being used. The way I got this was a Russian in charge of disposing of the broken ones was charged with the job of destroying them. And he would put them in a pile and get a bunch of grunts to hit them with sledgehammers. And then he would pour gasoline on top of the pile and torch the gasoline. And then everybody would walk away saying, okay, you've destroyed them. And he would then show up a little later and pull one off the very bottom of the pile. So all of these have singe marks on them.
Interesting. So is this unrestored otherwise?
Yes, I put them into working condition.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Wow.
but I didn't clean off the singe marks. They're too good. There's on the outside of the case.
Well, it adds patina.
Yeah, that's it.
I like it. How cool. What an interesting story too, to go with it.
You know, if I remember right, Tom, I think the American KL7 had 10 rotors in the set. I don't know if they used all of them in the machine at once. I think they might only use 7.
Yeah, I was always amazed by the similarity between the KL7 and the Russian Fialka, Bill. They are relatively similar and extraordinarily secure. And as you know, the KL7 was surrounded by very tight security also. Did you have one? Did you have one on the ship where you served?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Every ship I was on had them.
And what was the security like?
They had one special room that was all that was in there. And basically you typed in a message and got the ciphered message out of it. It had a keyboard, much like the radio teletype early, the Model 15, had about the same key tension on it. And anyway, you'd get the cipher message, then you'd take that out into the radio room and transmit it. And if you got one in over the air, then you'd take it into the code room to break it. And they had, I think, they had a packet of cards that gave you the settings for the rotors day by day, and a month's worth. You had 2 or 3 months worth on hand, depending on how long you were going to be out to sea or whatever. And they would all be wrapped, and you couldn't break the seal on the wrapping until the proper date. And
Is that what they kept in the safe? I know they had a safe in that room
yeah,
also.
yeah. And the room itself was secured.
Yeah.
We were underway training down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, with the Navy, and they had a Coast Guard admiral in full uniform came into our radio room for a inspection. And he tried to walk in the code room, and my first class that worked for me picked him up bodily and took him back out. So E6 threw a full general or admiral out bodily.
Wow.
That's a great story, Bill. Thanks.
And if he hadn't, we'd have got a hell of a gig. As it was, he got a good mark for it.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good story. So let's see here. So here's Paul McCoy's table. What's interesting about this, he has a few of these Telefunken all Fox Strahler RS1 speakers. These are bookshelf speakers that you could buy as an accessory for a number of their radios. And these command crazy money on eBay. I know I have probably half a dozen of these, but I paid very low, reasonable monies. People ask well over $100 for each one of these, and sometimes in marginal condition. So these are actually very nice and very aesthetically pleasing speakers because they're made of teak. They have nice teak curved backing, really just very attractive speaker and very popular for as an add-on. This use simple 2-pin DIN, which most of the German radios had an accessory plug for an additional bookshelf speaker. So you can plug them in just about anything because they all took about the same, 3 to 4 ohm speaker input. But Paul usually has some European stuff lying about.
John, did that speaker have a regular round cone speaker in it?
Yeah, it was a standard speaker in there, a nice what they call it, the permanent coil,
Yeah.
It's a pretty good size, probably about a 6 to 8 inch wide speaker. And this sounds nice. I have one. The reason they introduced it, like one of the reasons was to only have the extra speaker even with mono, but on the early stereos, you actually got full stereo by offering the additional speaker. You plug it in. I have a Telefunken Sonata with 3 speakers standard, but this was the accessory speaker, and I have one. So you plug it in to there, and they even had, I have one, it just doesn't work. They had this remote stereo adjuster to adjust the, you have the balance.
Yeah.
You did it remotely because you could they would give you instructions where to place the speaker in the house to maximize your stereo experience. So it was a little bit crude. The thing doesn't work, but it's cool. I'll have to show it for show and tell just one of these days because it's just kind of neat. I found it on eBay for like $10, and I said, "Oh, I know what this is," and so I bought it because nobody knew. It just looked like an accessory, so I grabbed it, and it's a nice shape, but it doesn't do anything.
Is there just a typical, is there any kind of audio baffle or anything in terms of the design, any woodwork in there?
No, it's actually pretty hollow back there. They did it's purely aesthetics. There is some, mounting points for the speaker, and maybe they act a little bit like a baffle, but effectively there's not much in there. It's pure aesthetics, and they do sound nice. They're going to win any sound awards, but they really do add to the experience. And I think they're probably the most, from an aesthetic standpoint, so the nicest looking German bookshelf speakers you'll find. That's why they're so popular, because
That raises an interesting question, John. Is there anybody know whether there's a relationship between the diameter of the speaker coil and its associated magnet and quality of sound? Is it or maybe tweeters have very small ones, diameter, and woofers large? What is the relationship between coil size and something that we would recognize?
Fair question. Sure.
I'll take a crack at that one.
Noah?
Yeah. Generally speaking, for the speaker design, the voice coil has to do with the linearity of the response to the signal in the magnetic field. So the bigger the magnetic field or the deeper the magnet, then the bigger the voice coil and more power handling capability the voice coil can have. And you will always have the same number of turns of the voice coil in the magnetic field. So you'll have a very linear response as far as the physical transducer. So, tweeters, generally speaking, don't move very far in terms of the displacement. So they don't usually have a very large voice coil in terms of its depth, not so much in terms of its diameter. They're trying to keep the mass down for high frequency response in a tweeter, and for a woofer, or even a lower mid-range type capable speaker, you need to get more displacement you need to move more air if you're going to be reproducing lower frequencies. And so you need a bigger magnet and a stronger magnetic field to keep the same amount of the voice coil in the field as it's moving in and out, so that you get a linear response and not distortion.
Makes good sense, Noah. That really sounds appropriate. Now I'm going to go out and measure my woofers and my tweeters and see if it stands. I'm going to put your theory to the test.
I'd be lying if I said it was my theory. There's people a lot smarter than I am that have come up with this, in speaker design throughout the decades before I was too much involved. But passing on what I've learned from, studying a lot of other people's work on this.
John, if you showed that to a 20-something, he might think that's a forerunner to an Alexa with a cord.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, you just triggered my my echo. I'll have to put it on. I'll just
All right.
it went beep. But yeah, some truth there, right?
One of my audio engineering professors at WPI had a woofer that was approximately 3 feet in diameter, and it actually had 8 voice coils, 8 smaller voice coils that were around the center dust cone, if you wanted to call it dust cover. It would look like it had a voice coil that was about 8 inches across, but what it really had were 8 different, like 1 inch or 1.5 inch diameter voice coils all around that dust cover, moving in unison just to get the displacement and the force necessary to move this 3 foot wide speaker cone. It was quite a thing to hear when he hooked it up to his Macintosh 275 power amplifier.
Was it a Hartley? We had a couple of 30-inch Hartleys in our lab at Columbia, and they were woofy. Right.
I don't know that I know the ones that you're speaking of, but this was actually larger than that. It was at least 36. It might have even been a 42. He was involved in some interesting experiments with some volunteers from a local prison system where, let's just say, one of his experiments was determining what the resonant frequency of the human bladder was.
Oh, geez. That's funny. But so moving along here, we have a
Moving right along.
we got a a Nordmenda Globe Traveler from the late 60s, early 70s, I'd say. Very late 60s, sort of their equivalent of what, our TOs, that of that era. This one I think had some problems though that Paul was telling me about, but they're nice radios. I have a nice, somewhat upscale version of this with twin speakers. That they're puts out quite some impressive sound.
I always liked that radio a lot, John. What's the speaker setup inside it? I think probably I never took apart mine to look at the speakers.
I haven't opened mine up either, but this one, mine has a little less depth. That one is this here, going back at the picture here, for just a moment here. This one's is actually a deeper, a wider radio. So it's probably a little more space for the speaker, because the one I have is probably a little narrower, so they probably have to tighten things up. And it's got twin. That's why I think they went to this twin speaker setup, because it simply, probably asks for a little more compact speaker. Does a nice job. It's not stereo, but it actually does a reasonable job. And like all radios of the era, certainly the TO is heavy, but these things, get some good exercise picking these things up and down. But nice multi-band radio, and typical. These German radios are complicated and pain in the neck to work on. Mine fortunately doesn't need any work, although it still has some weirdnesses as they got older, and some of the it has some odd behaviors occasionally with some of the lesser bands, but they're nice radios. And this one I think looks cosmetically nice, but I think in the back or something it had some significant problems. I think Paul just wants to get rid of this thing because I think it barely works. I forgot what he told me, but yeah, if you can get your hands on one for cheap, they're nice radios. They won't disappoint. Let's see, here's a GE. I'm not sure about the model. Maybe someone will know better than myself, but this is, I think, one of the ones that Paul restored, which he always does nice work. This one's really nice grow cloth. I'm sure he probably did his usual fine job. Some more of his radios. I think there's a Philco here.
Model 60.
Yeah. And is that just an accessory speaker, or is this a radio in itself? I'm not sure, frankly.
The speaker, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a speaker, because I don't see any sign of anything beyond that.
I'm pretty sure that's a speaker. I've seen them around before. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah,
Greg, I'm going to guess that grill cloth is not the original for that Philco.
No, I don't think so. It looks okay, but
it's a vintage era, but
I think they had more of a diamond pattern.
Yeah, this one I think, at least for a replacement cloth, is at least reasonably reachable.
Yeah. The case is nice. I like the contrasts, the veneers there.
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if this one's original, but Paul does very nice woodwork. He does a lot of the cosmetic wood restoration. He does a lot of the electronic as well, but he does nice work. In fact, we'll see. I'm sure I've taken a photo of it in the past, and shown it. But there is a nice Philco that I know he restored, which we'll see shortly. There's the man himself, and his wife in the background setting up. Oh, this is a Ken Silvestri's table. They have this. Who makes this? I think I have a better shot later. This nice compact portable record player with stereo speakers. Just close it all up, haul in your car, and you go to the next port of call. So yeah, you had a very low end Grundig Hilltop radio there. This one is this is a recorder as well, as I recall. Let's see here, I believe it is. Yeah, a phono recorder from, let's see what the manufacturer is. And PA system, interestingly enough.
Looks like my Eisner?
Yes, I think you're right. Good call. I think that's correct. Yeah, you don't see these really all that often. This was like Ken's table. And here's another recordette.
Yep. A recordette.
Another one.
Wait to see
You know?
the name. Does it say by something or other?
Yeah, let's see if we can get it closer. By, does that say Wilson Bay?
Wilcox?
Wilcox.
Yeah.
I don't see those very often, honestly. This looks like it's all there, probably just needing, usual restoration. Oh, just some various hi-fi things that Penn was moving out of his collection. This here is, let's see now,
RCA.
RCA, yeah. Missing a couple of knobs, but
28P maybe?
I think it was like a 121 was a model number. It's on the cover of that David and Betty Johnson book on restoring antique radios.
interesting.
Yeah, I have the book, but I can't remember what the heck it is.
I have the radio, I can't remember the model number.
Between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's all there. I mean, missing a couple of knobs, but no, it looks quite certainly restorable. Even the grow cloth is actually pretty reasonable. Certainly probably worth keeping if possible.
Yeah, they don't reproduce that wheat pattern that RCA.
Yeah.
Interesting. Silver tone.
Tone precision, yeah, a transceiver. I thought that was intriguing. You don't see these at least I've never seen a silver tone transceiver.
It's a communications receiver, not a transceiver.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Now, was that a standard type Sears? Because I've kind of scoured through some of these old Sears catalogs and I have compilations of them and all, but I can't recall seeing a sort of your the standard consumer broadcast short, that type of thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of communication gear from Sears. So this probably was unusual and probably pretty rare.
So then the question becomes, because obviously Sears, much like Radio Shack, only made money, who built that for them? That'd be a good question. They used to have an indicator, the chassis has a prefix, and that would be the manufacturer is embedded in those first three numbers of the tag.
Yep.
And
interesting. Yeah, I don't see that. That's why it was worth the photo, because I've never seen one of these before.
it's a reason to buy one right there. Just
Yeah, John, on a lot of these communications receivers from this vintage, I'd say the 30s through the 60s anyway, that send receive switch, all it does is mute the receiver for when you want to transmit with the separate transmitter.
Thank you for that, Larry. That helps clear up a few things here. Yeah, neat item though. That's something you see all that often. And just another digital receiver.
35 bucks.
35 bucks, not bad.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable, actually. Oh, this nice little GE portable. Maybe not quite the Super 8, but still a nice little box. Oh, this is Paul's Philco. I'm sure I've shown the photos in the past, but he does really outstanding work. He did all the cosmetics on this. He had to do this himself. He was telling me how he did that. It was very, very labor intensive.
to do the full finish is
That was a
tough.
full finish.
I'm going to guess he had a reproduction escutcheon. Maybe he
Yeah.
used it brass pieces, but those things are notorious for shrinking and warping,
Oh,
and the buttons are always toast. I mean, that's essentially a console radio
Hmm,
cable.
yeah.
It's huge.
That's
Yeah.
what do you think that is? That's about a 50-pounder. I have one.
Oh,
of
yeah. I had one at one time. That was a huge radio.
I think you can even get a little FM on the it just
The early
edges
FM,
the
yeah.
modern FM band just a little bit. That's a nice one though. That's a beauty. Mine has a couple of nice cigarette butt marks on it, and I kind of left them there for.
It's got a really nice, the dial
stellar.
lights up red. Very nice.
Oh, is it? Is that right? So this entire thing is lit up in red, Greg?
It's got a red background to it. Yeah, it looks very nice.
Interesting. Interesting. You
And
know,
they have
like,
very
I think,
interesting internal antenna for AM. They're very hot sets. It looks like miniature copper piping. They were in a couple of years of Philco's, but it's a great internal antenna and pretty hot on shortwave back in the day.
interesting. Yeah, you did a beautiful job though. It'd be hard to find a nicer one that was restored, to the level you had to do this one. Oh, let's see here. An Emerson portable, reasonable shape, certainly well within the ability to restore. This was interesting. This looks like almost like vintage World War II. It's got a telephone. Yeah, I'm not much about this. Oh, this is a pan out just on, I think this might have been Henry's table. I think, but Henry hadn't arrived yet. I think it's just being set up. Yeah, you could close up some of the transits. I think this is Henry's items he was selling, as I recall. Some nice little portable sets here. And Omniband. Unimetrics. Now that's not a name you see very often. Kind of a neat radio, just because you don't see them. I thought this was somewhat, not exactly sure. This looks like it's a portable.
It's used for direction finding in Marine. What they used to do is you'd have a map, or a chart, and then they would put the AM stations or various radio stations, and you could spin that and get a bearing off a couple of them. Long before GPS or Loran.
Oh, how interesting. Thanks for explaining.
I worked at a Pierce Simpson repair place. So, yeah, I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
Oh, hey, thanks for the background, Rob, because I was thinking, saying, well, what would you do with this? That very useful.
Well, when it's foggy out there and you have nothing, this is probably pretty cool.
Yeah, and I actually don't know what was being asked for, but it looks to be, in pretty reasonable shape. But it's obviously got a battery. It's got a battery check button.
Yep.
Got to watch that AM skip off the ionosphere, though. You could really get sent far out to sea in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but if you're in the Great Lakes or something, it was pretty good because, like Lake Michigan, you'd have Chicago stations on one side and Grand Rapids or
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit would be quite a ways away, but yeah, that's where I saw it, all in freshwater. I don't know if they could use them in the ocean. I really don't know.
Well, hopefully you could at least know if you were in the Atlantic, you'd know where land was, to your left or whatever, or if you were going north. And
they work pretty well.
yeah, can't remember the make of it, but I had one that was brown. It was two-tone brown. It looked older than this one.
I have a Pierce Simpson depth sounder with the rotating disc and the neon flash, the light. don't know what to do with it, but I can't get rid of it. You know, I gotta keep it.
Right, hard to, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something you come across very often, I suppose. Cool stuff.
Well, it's interesting, if you go back one, just look to the right of the, I don't know if they kind of went together, but if you go back to the right, there's something called transmitter hunting. You could use that device to hunt for a transmitter, audio or radio direction finding simplified. They kind of go together.
Interesting. Oh, look at that. Now, it's always impressive to see the knowledge that our members have here of all these unusual items.
A lot of weird stuff in the world.
It sure is. Oh, let's see here. This is Silvertone, is it not? Yeah.
Silvertone, yeah.
Nice shape, because again, that's one of those classic examples that to find an escutcheon like that and push buttons, if those are original, very
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah, I like the knobs on these too. Nice looking radio in actually very nice condition. Can't remember who was selling this, so. No, it's Arvin. Or let's see, how much was that? I think it, let's say
25?
Is that 25? 25 it is, yes.
On the left, huh?
Yeah, yeah, that's the problem is, you know, that's probably not too probably you can find probably a part for that. Because
Designed
otherwise,
for lefties. That's a lefties radio.
yeah, sinister.
It's probably down in the bottom of the set.
Yeah, probably.
Beta.
Is a nice looking fada. The woodwork is very nice, and it's hard not to like that. Very attractive.
Hello, mother. Hello, father.
Driving.
Yeah. You know, a quick story on fada. You know, I have one, a 790 model 790, which it's an AM FM radio. It's a nice classic brown with the gold mesh grill cover. It's like I guess you could call it a grill cloth, but it's obviously not cloth. But at any rate, there was one on eBay. I just happened to look, you know, and there's one, I've never seen it in this beautiful swirled burgundy with the gold trim. And I just followed. It was obviously restored. Gorgeous, gorgeous shape. I was astonished that it sold for just under $500. I was like $481. I've never seen one in that color, but it's really beautiful, but crazy money.
So is it Feta or is it Fada?
Well, given it was the guy's initials and it's Italian, I said Fada just because it seemed appropriate, but I hear Feta a lot, so far be it to correct anybody.
Fred Dondria, or
yes,
you know,
Fred. So like,
who's down? They were down, I think, in Long Island.
I think mine is made in Jersey City, Jersey, as I remember from the back cover. I think it's in a Jersey set.
They recently condoed out a building that used to be the Emerson Radio Manufacturing building in Jersey City.
Okay.
Much like they did with the Nipper building in Camden.
You need to have to be part of that in some way, especially if you have any of the old signage or even logos somewhere on the building. Would be kind of neat to keep that history. So let's see here. What do we have here? This one's not jumping at me, and I don't know why.
RCA?
That was RCA. I was looking for an RCA logo.
Case, but you can't. It looks to be something down the bottom. It's made in the United States of America.
Yeah, that's not really telling me much. But this one doesn't jump at me as to who made it. Nice looking radio. Looks all complete. You know, like, you know, a little cleanup of the plastic. You could pretty much make yourself a pretty nice little radio after electronic restoration. All right, what do we have here? A Philco. are these twin speakers?
No, it's a
No,
fake.
it was just
I
one.
was gonna ask, okay, that's next would have been, is this a FACO?
RCA had a model that was a legitimate twin speaker. It was only a simple 5-tube chassis, but Philco had, it looked good, but there was a speaker only on one side.
Well, that
Yeah.
may be a farm set too, where they put the battery on the one side.
That's true, Greg. Good point. Oh,
I
I don't know
remember-
where that cord comes from. I think that might be the radio in front of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. I mean, the cord, if there's a cord, or maybe like you said, maybe it's battery, so you just can't see what's behind.
Some of those farm radios, when you make your battery eliminator or get one,
That's so cool.
they'll surprise you.
Let's see, what do we have here?
It's a
Philco
little
Transitone.
Philco.
Okay. Thank you. I knew I can count on you.
They're actually not bad receivers. So they had that chassis in several different cabinets.
Yeah. Very nice
Like a
dial on those too.
53.
Yeah, I know. I like the dial face.
I've got one molded in maroon. They were molded in plastic at that time, different colors.
Okay.
Yeah, I had one that had the old, what do they call it, marine band, and it
Oh,
was that maroonish
civil
color. and I
defense.
took a nice fall off a 6-foot shelf, and that was
Yeah, those are nice looking radio. Oh, here we go. Another Philco. Portable. Actually reasonable shape. I mean, that the hands we can see, but that's the first thing to go in a lot of these portable radios. But
The antenna is very good on that one too. The grill.
yeah, this
those, maybe they don't warp in New England, Greg. I don't know. Everywhere,
That could be. Yeah.
I don't know, everywhere else.
Is there any place where you can find a pattern for that leather handle to make it look authentic?
good question.
I know.
There is a guy, because I've seen somebody mention him once. There is somebody who makes, I don't know that they're accurate reproductions, but he makes, he's leathercraft. He'll produce his that you can use. Probably has a Tandy leathercraft kit.
Well, looking at this, I think all you need is the handle, and you have a pretty reasonable radio. After you've done, a reasonable spruce up.
I guess
Not
put a
bad
little
shape.
spring in there, do a Jethro Bodine. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we had all sorts of neat stuff on this truck.
Oh,
You name it, had all sorts of oddball things. In fact, there's hopefully get the picture later on this unusual.
Was that the one that had the generator from New England that Tom had pointed out to us?
Yeah, I think it did. I think so.
If I recall, something along those lines.
Nice little RCA 45 RPM record player down the bottom.
Oh, wait, I'll back her up. Oh, yeah, right there. Good
Tone
call.
arm is at kind of a crazy angle, but hopefully not too
Fabulous
damaged.
45.
Right.
Yeah.
Hard to.
Wonder
I
if that
think
had
that
a cover it's
generator
missing.
Tom pointed out is right behind the record player, John.
Sorry. Yes, that's the one. I did catch a photo of it, or I think I caught a better photo of it later. I think. That's what we got here. So, oh, that's right. This is
Russian?
a Russian, and I think I could be wrong. I think the gentleman I spoke to said this actually was made in the Ukraine, and I think he had this at Hamfest, when Tommy showed us the photos from that, and apparently a guy walked up and said that was my first radio. I guess he was from Ukraine. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? Pretty low, especially such an unusual unit. But moving right along, let's see. We have some. What do we have here? It is clearly looks like more.
Einstellung.
Oh, there's something that's clearly German. What that does is unclear to me. I see antenna, frequency, test frequency. I'm not sure enough about this. I could probably figure it out if I did enough translation, but it looks clearly German. Oh, now to some hi-fi goodies. Get the various Cambridge Soundworks and various more modern things. At DeWalt. It's actually a nice looking radio. And hopefully it's got a nice clock from Ashland, Massachusetts, maybe.
Well, the anodized is very nice on there too. The gold
Yeah.
is,
I mean, nicely done. I'm not forgetting whose table that was, but very nice. Crosley, pretty reasonable condition. Let's see, I just missed the price tag by that much. Sorry about that, guys.
I've
Same
seen some
table.
of those with or without that handle on top.
Sorry?
I've seen some of those with or without that clear handle on top. Some just didn't have any handle at all.
Oh, really? So you
Carrying
think
handle.
this is original?
Yeah, some of them had those on, but
Just to
Not
help you
all.
take it from room to room, you know, that's all.
Yeah. How interesting. Because I was wondering about that. You know, it almost looked out of place, but I didn't know what to make of it.
yeah, it's also one of those that has a dial backwards where it starts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You know, Grundig did that too on their radios. You know, you start the lower band and go upward. Almost everybody was, you know, left to right.
right.
I guess that was another way to distinguish yourself from everybody else.
That's interesting.
Motorola.
Yeah.
Kind of
Actually,
a
nice
sharp
condition. Actually, very nice condition. Let's see if I can get a price on that. I don't think it came out well enough. It's just too washed out. But again, cosmetically, really nice shape. You could a little bit of Novus. You probably get a little more pop out of it, and you'd be good to go. At least cosmetically. Another Motorola TV. Name that radio. Oh, wait, here we go. Is there is that a
Echo phone?
Ec-
Ecto?
Electronic?
electronic? No, it says, I think this is
Electronic
electronic.
radio, imagine that. That's kind of bizarre, huh?
No, nothing about this.
Hmm.
Simple, but also attractive little radio. You know,
Kind of
nothing.
like that stepped Bakelite type look, you know, on the top is sharp.
Yeah, it's very similar to a little FATA cabinet. Look at Model 740, I think, of FATA. They had a very similar cabinet, but a different dial.
Yeah, at first I almost thought it was an add-on UHF tuner for a television set until I saw the numbers.
Yeah, this one's an oddball.
Buy it.
Let's see here. What do we have here?
Crossley.
Yes, you called it, Paul.
It's kind of the square escutcheon and square look.
Yeah.
Probably like I think a 5-tuber. That may be the model. I don't know. Has kind of a greenish glow to the dial, opposed to
They
your
did.
blade.
Oh, is that right?
You're there with the Crossley.
That's just the nicotine.
The nicotine.
The nicotine. That's funny.
Oh, they use some kind of green
something
phenolic
they
for the
use on
dial
the
scale.
Lucky Strike packages.
Interesting.
Kind of a square mini tombstone type look.
Huh. And here, oh yeah. Bear with me just one second. Very brief interruption.
AK.
And okay, sorry about that. But at any rate, yeah. And here's a box of just various transistor radios, varying types. And more the same. Oh, here we go. There was sort of the people waiting to get in.
It looks like a number of interesting little table radios on the free table there.
It was actually a pretty good haul of stuff. I would say that, Larry, I think overall we can say people were generally good about getting the stuff out of there. You were fortunate not burdened, but not too much to get rid of.
It was minimal, the stuff that was left behind, so it wasn't a problem. I mean, I would have liked to seen it cleared, but could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, there was a couple of oddball things. Oh, that's right. Somebody had actually had the audacity to like park some stuff in the corner of the lot that you had to take away. So it wasn't even near the free table. It's probably about 50 feet away. So there were some things that weren't even remotely what I call as vintage electronics deposited, but overall wasn't too bad. Yeah, there was some good stuff. There was no question. Just more people waiting to get in. Yeah, here's and here's Sparks looking around. There was a fair amount of good stuff there. That ended up leaving the tables. I think we did pretty well. There's kind of a pan out of people. This is in the early part of the show. This I just took a photo because this is Paul Lavoie's table. This is a Telefunken RS5 speaker from, I would say, 1967, 68. Another bookshelf speaker, different form factor, not quite as attractive as that earlier one I showed. But this one, it had in its original box, so it looks to be in pretty nice shape. The speaker, nice, all
Like
original.
Vented louver there in the front. You can
Yeah.
see that's really sharp.
Yeah, that's right at MCM. That was the Germans. That was a popular styling technique. They started about the mid '60s. They had the kind of the wooden grill, and they carried that through until probably around the early '70s, and they went to more conventional, mesh grill cloths. Yeah, they're nice sounding radios, and I forgot to ask Paul what he was asking for because I thought about buying it from him, but I never. But at the time I had got around to going back to him, he left. He closed up early, so that's that. Who knows if it's sold or not? Oh, this was at Ken's table. This is a Corting Delmonico from, I would say, 1960. This is an original radio and it sounds great. Ken had a battery there, and he fired up the radio, played strongly, no hum. This is like a what I call a 2 to 3 speaker radio, and and Corting is not a very common, one of the lesser brand German radios. But this is a nice radio. It has some basic sound register buttons for some enhanced sound. Great radio. And cosmetically, other than the typical crazing you get on the case from age, because they use that lacquered finish that was just prone to crazing. You get those cracking on the finish. Otherwise, this is in great shape. You you could take it home and play it as is without even having to do much. And there we go. I even took a thing. Okay, 125 is pretty reasonable. I would say quite reasonable for this radio, given its condition and sound. And it's a nice, what I call upper, I'd say mid-range radio. Would I be roughly what I put it at? Oh, this was neat. I think Tom had a close look at this. Did you end up buying this? I'm not sure. Maybe Tom is not on anymore. But Tom Pereira was looking very, very eagerly at this. I think I have a better photo later. Back there we go.
I think I remember him commenting that you could just take that and hook up any radio that you own to it, and it would magically fix your radio.
Exactly. It's another Meisner. There we go. Meisner. Yeah. It's look at all those rotary buttons. Who would not want to play with this? Cool stuff. Meisner analyst. Meisner. Oh, this is art. You should recognize this.
Yes, I still have it.
You took it home. Very nice, actually. That's a nice looking GE, as I recall, right?
Yes, that's right.
Nice chest side.
Yeah, it's actually, the picture doesn't do it justice. It looks much nicer in person, and this is looks nice already in the photo, but it's even better in person. It's a nice little Sony reel-to-reel. Channel Master. I think this was Adrian's table. He had a lot of Channel Masters. It's a nice little, actually, not attractive radio.
Good MDXers, for small sets. They're not bad.
Yeah, it's attractive radio. Probably 60s.
60s at you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm guessing.
I remember in the 70s and 80s, my barber had one just like that in the barber shop.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Because he had two antennas and he had them strung out in a V shape by hanging on the wall.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I like these. They're attractive little sets. And
Listen to
here's
every haircut.
here's a nice Emerson portable.
Model red markets. Case is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice color.
Got your civil defense markers?
Yeah, I was looking at those. Yeah, the two spots. Yeah, it's pretty.
That actually has tubes in it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that was one of mine. Somebody bought it.
Oh, they did. Oh, good for you.
Yep.
That's a neat one, Art.
Ooh, Lafayette.
There we go. Yeah, I saw. Actually, I kind of oohed at that a little bit myself. They ask.
A Pioneer? Is it a Pioneer or Lafayette?
Lafayette. It's got those Rolo candy shaped volume
There's a
and
Pioneer
bass and
thing.
treble controls.
I need to get my glasses cleaned.
Yeah, that was neat. It did catch my eye as well there, Noah.
Yep. I was a Lafayette. I was an LRE guy as opposed to a Radio Shack guy when I was in high school.
Yeah, my dad fancied some of the Lafayette stuff. He went to the store all the time. It's funny.
Just to be different, there was too much Radio Shack around. You had to kind of go off the deep end a little bit and do the Lafayette thing. It was.
They did a catalog too, didn't they? Did they catalog sales?
Yep.
I think they did. Yeah, I remember my dad getting Lafayette catalogs in the mail. I'm not sure what prompted him. I never actually asked him why he went the direction he did, but I think part of it is we lived in Long Island. There was one in Long Island. I think he used to go there, and then when we moved somewhat upstate New York, he probably for traffic reasons and distance, we would occasionally go to the one in Albany, and I remember I would go with him, And I just loved all the lit dials and the buttons. And of course, I just wish I could transfer myself with my brain as it is and go back in time. That would be so much more fun. I tend to be a little bit more bored because, you know, I don't appreciate the electronics as much as I do now. But they had a lot of
They
good
were
stuff.
just a little, you know, they were just a little offbeat. You know, I think like the turntables in the Radio Shack might have been like, maybe there'd be a dual turntable or something, but in the Lafayette store, they would have an ELAC Miracord or a Benjamin Miracord or something. You know, it was just like a little weird. It was just a little off and different all the time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But they also sold a lot of other name brands beyond just, you know, their own
Yep.
products. And I know my dad came home with, I remember him coming home with a Panasonic quadraphonic system from around the early, I'd say about like, I would say around 72, 73. So they're still made in Japan. And I remember my dad put the speakers, he had 4 speakers, put them both, you know, 2 speakers on one wall, 2 speakers in the far end of our, you know, family room, living room. And he had one of those sound effects records. Remember those?
Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of those.
I don't know if you have this one, because John, if you ever have it, I got to go listen to it. He had one had a DC-6, Douglas DC-6. You know, that was, you know, the old, you know, 4-engine, you know, Pratt & Whitney. I think they used engines. So there's nothing better than the sound of rotary propeller engines, and they do is you hear it take off. So it comes from the far end with the 2 speakers, and it sounds like it flies right over you. Gets then it switches to the other 2 speakers as if it flew directly over your head. It's outstanding. I've always loved it when he played it because it just sounded like that plane flew right over your head. But a box of car radios. A couple of like Chevrolet radios, and so that was kind of fun to see. Just a, yeah, there's a Chevrolet. It's all tube stuff. Early radio. Right, these look like early 50s kind of stuff.
Yeah, probably had vibrators in them.
Probably. Oh, this is Ross's table. Hey, this is a Saba Freiburg, a Continental 400. These are nice systems. This obviously speakers sold separately, but this is from, I would say, 65, 6, 7. These are right kind of the last of the tube Sabas, but boy, these are nice and they sound.
Have like 4 EL95s as the output stage or something like that in there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. These will crank, and this has the automatic tuner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, they're very persnickety. I have a Saba 300, which is a much lesser brother, and it's persnickety. It happens is it'll actually auto tune it, and mine, I think it obviously needs servicing. It bounces too much trying to settle in on the station, so I just manually tune it. I disable it because you can turn this little button that turns off the automatic tuner. Plus the Germans, you get buttons for everything. This is a nice, I don't know what Ross is asking, but I'm sure pretty noticeable money because these are pretty desirable. This is top shelf equipment for Saba. Oh, here's I think this is a Siemens, I think. Memory serves. No, Braun. There we go. Yeah, another kind of kooky, that's sort of Dieter Rahm style, almost style in the face, dial face, and so forth. You know, with maybe some a new grow cloth, you'd have yourself a pretty nifty little radio. Here's the lower end, by the way, this Braun, because you can see it's just a single speaker. You know, it's probably like a 6-tuber or so, maybe 7 tops. Let's see if I close in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, actually, it has 7. So maybe I was probably undercounted, but yeah, reasonable midline radio. Yeah. Of course, the Germans never sold on anything standard. These use the banana plug style, you know, to plug in like auxiliary speakers, where most by then were starting to sell in on the 2-pin DIN connectors, which are much easier to deal with.
That had the Siemens type connector.
Yeah, I think there were some of them held out until the late 50s with the style connectors. I mean, you can make anything, right? It's not a big deal, but it's always convenient when you can just use 2-pin DIN and just plug it into any radio you want. Oh, here's another Grundig. That was actually pretty decent. Late 60s kind of material, solid state, tabletop. The only thing is these buttons can be a little bit finicky, but otherwise nice little radio. Here's the Saba Mearsburg. That's your, not your top line, it's your next one down. Nice radio. They sound wonderful. Speakers are well known. Look at the size of the speaker on this thing. These are nice sounding radios, and Saba were well known for their speakers. They called them the green cone speakers. So they literally were green. It sounded wonderful for a single speaker. And here's should be a Grundig. Yeah, Grundig Majestic. So should be. No,
Yeah.
it's not a Majestic. I take it back. It is a European radio. Yeah, it's in European spec, not a import. Also another nice radio. Oh yeah, this is a rusted able to Zenith. Oh, that's a pretty attractive radio, huh?
Yeah.
Small way to get a big black dial.
Yeah, huh?
And all the original wood knobs.
Yeah, huh? Here's another, I think. Oh, it's an Arvin Industries. Interesting.
Arvin went to war with probably all the other guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, this was
Sinclair.
The
the Timex Sinclair, indeed. Why am I embarrassed to say I'm drawing a blank on our director, who's is a collector of all these. Forget
Adam?
Tom?
Adam Vaughn.
Adam, thank you. I just had this brain fuse. Adam Vaughn. Yeah, this was his table. He had this complete Timex Sinclair, which is essentially what I had as a kid. I had the same computer. He had all the manuals and all. And
Yes,
kind of
you
fun.
can
It was
join
also
the IMAX Computer Club. Wow.
sorry.
And that brochure there on the side.
Timex
Join
Computer
the
Club.
Timex Computer Club.
Yeah, it had.
Too late, John. You could sign up.
It had everything. You know, it was funny. I was really kind of half tempted. I said, how much should I purchase? And then right beside, he had this Radio Shack micro color computer, which I remember it was TRS-80. I remember when I bought the Timex Sinclair, I would always go to Radio Shack and stop by, and I started to have this maybe, I wouldn't call it buyer's remorse, but I started wondering, geez, there are some neat features on this. And I said, it's color too. And I started to say, geez, did I do the right thing? I said, I always play with these things. And and you can see it's got all the little buttons. This is all for BASIC. Anybody's ever programmed BASIC in your life, these are all the basic functions, because they use an interpretive language. But yeah, see, as I took a pan out. Yeah, I remember this owner's manual. He had all the stuff. I thought that was pretty cool, and I don't think he was asking ridiculous money either. I thought it was actually a pretty neat thing. And he's got also all the manuals with the TRS-80. So either way, you're going to come away with a good, complete set you bought from Adam. It was fun. This was Adrian's Grand Prix. Japanese radio, I suppose. Oh yeah, this is nice little Emerson. No, didn't you have one of these?
Yep.
I thought so.
it's got a really funky power cord where the power supply, rectifier and everything is built into the plug that goes into the AC outlet.
Right. I remember you doing a demo when you opened yours up.
Yep.
When we were doing a tour of Noah's house.
And still no one's come by with a big box truck.
Do you think you scared them away with all the walking tour?
Possible.
Let's see, I think there might have been Adrian's table. Yes, there's a lot of neat stuff here. Some neat little transistor portables. Now the channel master, yeah, this is Adrian's. Super Fringe. It's funny to come up with these names, model names.
It's even better reception when you hook it up to your channel master antenna.
Exactly. If you don't have that, you're bad luck.
And your rotor.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's
Zenith
nice, seen it?
Radio phonograph.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
You know, again, the woodwork really in nice shape. Supposed to be, now it's funny. This has to be pre-war, but it's funny how it looks almost post-war.
Yeah, I think it's about a 42, 41.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just I think it's just the camera design makes you think it's newer than it really is. The dial
Is there a record player under that lid?
I think so. Yeah.
remember. I don't know if I don't think I remember lifting it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is.
At least I remember doing it.
78 only, not multi-speed, but
Right.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess for that year, that probably makes sense. But yeah, it's kind of an unusual cat. I keep looking at it saying it's kind of like this amalgamation of like newer and old. When they did that, but I guess part was the form factor to fit a a phonograph in there.
That actually uses the same chassis as the Zenith toaster, they called it. It was a wood
Oh,
cabinet.
okay.
Right? Yeah. So that's the same dial face and everything.
Yeah, I think they put that in some of they had a couple of Bakelite ones with handles, and that was a
Right.
top chassis, and then they must have loaded in a turntable.
Interesting.
I think it's just a 5-tuber.
That was all right.
Yeah.
Still nice. I mean, it's still a nice little set. I mean,
Yeah. Nice compact unit if you want a 78 player.
Yeah. All the nice original button knobs. I mean,
I think I've got the Bakelite, the brown Bakelite version of that, and it has like a little plastic kind of bubble type dome lens over the face that one seems to be missing, or maybe the wooden ones didn't get it. I don't know.
I was thinking the same thing. I think it's missing. Usually they turn yellow. He probably just took it out.
Yep, a little bit yellowish tinge to it.
I always thought it was funny the way they'd calibrate half the dial in
Yes.
kilohertz and the other half in meters, made it look to the uninitiated like it was a two-band set when it was really
Right.
just
Oh,
the AM.
it must be AM and shortwave.
yeah, that was.
It was early adopters of the metric system.
There you go. And here we have another German set, this Nordmende Cadet. This is probably from 57, 58. This is your kind of your base radio. What a neat little cabinet. I always liked that. Nordmende was the only one that did this sort of like funky knobs that kind of jutted out instead of having it normally on the dial face. And I always thought it was kind of cool in its own way. But this is actually an attractive radio, a nice shape. Just your entry level. It is a US model, but you can see it's obviously got the full FM spectrum plus the labels clearly. Plus they only went with a single shortwave band. So you can tell it's an import for the US crowd. Nice radio. I want to say this was Bill Dunn's table. That is Bill. So yes, I do not lie. Obviously had this. Does this say AK? No, right? Radio
RCA.
There we go. I think it's how's that? No, everything looks pretty complete on this.
Zoom in. Let's see if we can see the model number.
Okay, we're gonna go real close.
Radiola something,
Radio.
Super het.
60.
60, yeah.
There we go. Yes, thank you.
It's a super het.
Yeah, super het.
Yeah, I got a Radiola 66 that's in a, of course, gigantic, floor model stand-up cabinet.
I have one of those in my living room too, Noah.
Yeah. Nice radios.
I've got to
Massive.
give it away, but I have to give it away before I move, and I just found a home for it about a week ago.
Was that right?
I got it out of the basement of one of my high school buddies. It was his grandmother's, and it was down in the basement and hadn't been played in years. And I was already fiddling with things as a teenager. So I wound up dragging it home, and I've had it ever since.
Huh.
Mine was given to me by a ham friend who lived in Jackson, New Hampshire, and just passed away. His memorial service was last Friday, and this radio belonged to his aunt. And he gave it to me many years ago, and I restored it. Electrically restored it. The cabinet wasn't too bad, even though it had been in a barn for several years, finished jobs on the cabinet. But anyway, I found a home for it. It's a nice radio. I like it, but I'm not going to have the space at the new location that I have here.
Yep. I was thinking about contacting my high school buddy because he's living now in Litchfield, Connecticut, saying, hey, remember your grandmother's radio that you gave me when we were teenagers? How'd you like to have it back? It still works. I still have it.
That's funny. By the way, I just haven't noticed this. Mendes Bill was asking $60 for it, which I think is pretty reasonable because I think chances are Bill restored it. Pretty reasonable for, and he's a nice, more than sufficient as kitchen radios. Yeah, both two nice radios here. I'm sure he was asking reasonable money for the radio.
Worth $60 if he's got those piano keys working right.
Yes. Normando usually weren't too bad, but the thing you had to worry about is you get the nicer ones, like the Tannhäuser, we had the clutch.
Yep.
And that's when they get really problem. I've got someone that's the little. I think you can make the plastic sleeve to fix them, but they are temperamental. That was with Normando was the clutch. With Grundig, it was those metal key mechanism that was cheap. Everyone had their own little faults in design.
Toshiba.
Yeah, reasonable looking unit. Know nothing about the model, but this was neat. This is a
time clock.
Time clock. I love it. Look at the simplex. We just love that looks like early teens, 20s like style scripting. Apparently this works because the gentleman that was telling it, we were telling about it, he actually showed me a card that he used. It was faded. The ink, was pretty faded, but the thing works like a champ. It probably has that nice chunk.
Yep.
Late again, Gibbons. Don't let it happen one more time.
I mean, this thing again, just like everything else, probably weighs in about 40 pounds, so you mount it on the wall, you got to put it on a stud.
That's why it still works.
Yeah. But, really cool. Really liked it.
No plastic gears in that.
Must have dodged the scrap metal drives too.
Yeah, no, I love this stuff. I mean, this is really in the odd niche style of vintage electronics. How cool. Oh, Helicrafters. Yeah, it wouldn't be a radio show with at least one of these. It was a rare. This is really too bad Gary Norman weren't on. This is screams Gary Norman saying "Take Me." Apparently, this is pretty rare. This Collins.
Yeah, Tom had pointed that one out as well.
Yes, he was very excited about it. So I took a few shots of it, and like I said, it's too bad Gary isn't on there. But if Gary watches the video feed, the recording, Gary, we were thinking of you when we were there. Here's the innards. It looked all pretty restorable. Ah, this was the motor that Tom had me take the photo of. Look at this. The Holzer Cabot Electric in Boston, Massachusetts.
In Chicago, Illinois.
Yes, in Chicago, Illinois too. Yes, yes. But how cool.
2000 RPM motor.
Yes, indeed. 10 volts. That was, I just even just love just the artwork, just the stamping. So it's, you know, hard not to enjoy this stuff. What was he asking? Taking $50, I think. Yeah. I don't, maybe Tom took it. I don't know if anyone bought it.
Nice paperweight.
Oh gosh, yes.
Break it down for horseshoes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Or good anchor. Just to get a close up of the close up. Get even closer look if you want.
That's very cool.
I thought it was too cool not to grab a couple of
I'll have to
shots.
Google up the name of that company.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that scene.
So there was another fellow who had, I think this was the guy who had the Stromberg Carlson 430M in his truck as well. And it's just sad because they look pretty nice in restore. Oh, no one will even look, you know?
Yeah, consoles are really tough. You know.
It just nosedive, you know?
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
the good news is if you like them, then there's really nice ones out there at bargain basement prices. The bad
Yeah.
news is when you get over that phase and then you need to move them on, then it gets tough.
Yeah, aptly said. Noah, aptly said.
You have to have the room, you know, to have that fetish to be able to
Yep.
collect.
It's right.
Well, you know, if you have enough of them, you never have to paint the walls in whatever room you put them in. You just line them all up around the perimeter.
Oh, that's all part of your mind, your whole calculus.
I don't even remember what color the walls are in that room.
Yeah, you just
Fill
have
it
to
with vintage electronics.
walk through it, right? You turn left at the Zenith and right at the RCA.
Yep,
Like
exactly.
in the mailbox.
So one day when someone actually pulls in with that box truck or you actually move, you'll finally say, hey, that now I know what the color of the wall is.
Yeah.
I forgot it was, you know, tan or whatever.
Yeah, I have no idea what the molding was there.
That grill cloth is in pretty good shape.
Yeah, this is really quite nice.
Very nice.
It's relatively, and this is just an opinion, you know, if someone's worried about space, it's easy to deal with vertical because these aren't super wide, probably like 30 inches wide, but you get these big, you know, wide consoles, either German or this, you know, seeing this, you can have great sound, but you got to give up a lot of space, you know, to do it. So you have to decide what's more important to you if you're willing to take one of these things. Yep, there's another. Yeah,
that's a beauty. I have one of those in my dining room here, and it's a gorilla.
Yeah, that's right. We were looking at the baffles back there, Paul.
Yes, the acoustic labyrinth.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I have a couple of shots coming up of that. Actually, this is pretty well complete, this radio too. You know, needs a good, you know, good press.
Shortwave performers, let me tell you.
Is that right?
That was for the hoi polloi. I mean, that was like about a $300 radio in 1939, which is
That's big bucks.
some
That's
money.
big. That's well over $2,000, probably about $2,000 to $2,000 today's money. Easy. Sorry, that I was hoping for a better shot. That, you know, so it's a little bit washed up in the reflections. It's always tough taking photos of dial faces outside.
The reflections usually shrink a little bit on those, but that's not too bad.
Yeah, I'd say overall this is all the buttons are here. All the even the decals are quite more than readable. You know, overall. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit rough here, but I'm sure you can get replacement ones from radio days where these have them made or something.
Let's see, good bass, and what are the other two?
Let's see here. I'll see if I can pull
Tone. Off on tone.
off on tone.
Tone.
Bass decrease and increase.
Oh,
Volume.
increase. Okay, there you go.
There we go. And this one.
That's gotta be the band selector.
Yeah,
Well,
it's just-
band selector and the tuning,
Yeah,
An inner outer knob.
inner outer knob. Yep.
yeah, agreed. But all the buttons are there. I mean, it's just really,
Yeah.
and look at the
Yeah,
woodwork. I mean, just I love like all the detail stuff. And you look at all the nice, craftsmanship there. I could see why it was $300.
Nothing sounds finer than a Stromberg Carlson.
We'll see the baffle stuff soon. Yeah, see, here we go.
They have a good chassis, but like the octagonal table models with the octagonal dials go for crazy money.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
your
very good.
acoustic labyrinth.
It
We got a
looks-
nice chair side.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought this was, I like the decals. Here's the,
Tuning, and that was another nice set.
there she blows with, see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9 tuber. Yep.
Not the
Same.
easiest thing to restore underneath. Things are pretty crowded under there.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
Hmm.
And Stromberg was noted for having those black painted chassis too. They had some kind
Yep.
of a crinkle finish to them.
Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah, I guess we got up close.
Little RCA jack there, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's where the phonograph plugs in.
Right? Well, you do that just, put
Like
in
a pair
nice-
of 6V6s in the output stage there and push pull.
Yeah, that speaker's a beast too. The
Yep.
speaker's heavy. Those are, like I said, that's what you would listen, because those are the fancy people. They were listening to the Philharmonic,
Yeah, you had to
Of
hear
course.
those. You had to hear those kettle drums booming in the timpanis and stuff. Boom.
Right. Or, you have to, yeah, it's true. Because I guess there's some bass. I mean, hey, there's a lot of good big bands for them that has some amount of bass behind them. I just enjoyed listening to Glenn Miller on this.
Gene Krupa banging on those drums.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Or you get, what's his name? Get the deep voice.
Vaughn
Something
Monroe.
Monroe.
Vaughn
Thank
Monroe.
you. Thank you. He did a pretty
Both
important.
bright as in the sky. Go.
Exactly. Yeah, he did that.
Very successful as a vocalist, even though he was a big bander
Yeah. He
conductor.
had a very distinctive voice. Okay, then we move out back to transistor age.
It's got both M and L.
Yeah.
It is open. There's
I
the
did manage to get it
There's
after I
the-
couldn't.
there's the
couldn't remember.
lathe. The built-in lathe on top of the reel.
You got a package of them.
Got a couple of spare needles, huh?
Yeah, look
Oh,
at that, huh?
Is that your cover for the dial, or is the
Yeah, there's.
Yes, yeah, that's the classic brittle and yellowed plastic
opaque?
dial.
Oh, right, because look at that. It is
Yep.
missing. Yep.
So he did it. It was complete.
Yeah. That's actually, this is Bill Dunn's because I recognize he's got the Cadillac. So I'm looking and saying, I think that's Bill's.
Oh,
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah, more potpourri of portable.
That's that yellow one with the brown handles. Another one of those fancy Zenith opening up things.
Right. Good catch.
Little tube tester standing up in the back.
Oh, I can reverse that. Hardest turn. Whoop. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yes, yes, indeed.
Yep.
Replace good.
Good.
Kind of more of a filament checker than anything else, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, actually have a Lafayette. Funny enough, tube checker. That's kind of basic one, but it's actually a nice little piece of kit. Right, late '60s stuff. That's the one I have. There we go. Here's some of these TV boat anchors, Motorola. 1949, 7-inch portable, 125.
Yep, it's probably got that 7-inch electrostatic deflection CRT that's damn near impossible to find.
That's right. I think this was John Weatherall's, if I remember. He's the one who was that we were joking that these things, these things were portable. He's like, hey, his observation was like putting, a handle on a Mack truck, calling it portable, bolting on a handle. Ooh, things are monsters.
Take it to the house up at the lake.
Yeah.
Looks like got a pretty fancy Macintosh something or other there on that table.
You are correct. There was a pretty decent turnout. I see Russ is way in the background. I don't know if Russ is still on here, but I see Russ way in the back. Prove that he was there. This is Bruce's table. He had a bunch of various TOs. Kind of like this antenna.
Changes. Deluxe.
Completely assembled. All connectors soldered. No wiring changes necessary.
I do like these old box art. It's always fun to look at. There's a better picture. And it's easy to install. That's an important thing.
What more do you want? $20, take it away.
There you go.
Hook that up to your Stromberg Carlson, see what you can pick up.
That's right.
There we go. Here's more.
But not your Atwater Ken.
Yeah, right. Well, these, you see a couple of these behind each other.
Model 40.
Yeah.
I think that was their first AC.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, 1928.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. Always something in these meetings.
It's they had a big power supply in there. Just everything was encased in tar. The choke, the transformer, everything.
Oh,
capacitors. Really? Yeah, they're not fun to rebuild.
There's actually we had a contest, an AK contest, and I know that the winner did a magnificent job on his radios. In fact, I'm hoping to get him on when this is a Zoom meeting. Some various test equipment. 2-meter amateur transceiver here, and we get that. Sure what that is. Oh, here's a variety of stuff. This might have been Bruce's table. I think this is Bruce's stuff. Yeah, a whole variety of stuff. Speaker needs some love, but it's mostly there. It needs to grow cloth down. A little bit haggard there. I think. Why did I take a photo? I took another photo of this. I'm trying to think of why. What struck me to do so. I don't know why, but I guess I just hadn't seen one of these before.
I don't recognize the logo on the left.
That's what I was thinking as well. Maybe that's why I took it. What's that?
Trio.
Ah, okay.
See, it's got a tree and an O on it. It's
Yeah.
Trio. It's same. I think it's the same company as Kenwood.
Oh, okay. Tom Scarpelli's table, invariably lots of tubes. Oh, this is definitely his.
So you can stop there, John. That's the one I brought home.
I was just going to say, is this where you're going to show and tell, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, my shots are probably no better, no worse than yours. I did take a shot of the back. It's as best I can tell, it is a Firestone by Stuart Warner. So I don't have a Firestone radio, and I thought that was a really cool dial glass. So
sure is. Sure is, and it was quite reasonably priced.
Yeah, it was $20.
Yeah, it's a nice shape too. very attractive radio. It's kind of like this, almost like a little mini console in its
It's
layout.
like a 1946 a post-war guy. So AC/DC, but we'll see
Nice.
how it goes. Clean it up a
Nice.
bit.
Nice. Great. It's a great little radio. This is nice. This is a Zenith.
Oh, yeah.
This looks a little bit like the
Darth Vader Zenith, huh?
it looked like sort of a follow-on to the 46, which was all wood front. This one has the plastic. Look like this continued design went to plastic.
Yeah, the wood one had kind of a reverse chevron dial scale.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an Ames radio. The one I'm thinking about was all wood. Yep. This is
GE,
GE.
AM/FM.
Yeah.
Kind of a bizarre dial and cloth setup. It's like an inset, but why do you have that like little horizontal strip of cloth? I don't know.
Yeah, it is a little. I'm probably is a nice player, I imagine. But at the time, Tom's table was mostly like these 20.
So
Sorry?
it probably isn't bad on FM considering the era.
Yeah, probably. I mean, this is right around probably like, late 40s, maybe 50 or so. They all sounded pretty reasonable.
I think every radio on his table was $20.
Yeah, it was a great. He had everything, and they're all nice radios. There wasn't any junkers. They're all nice radios. You got a really nice one.
If you capped it and you needed tubes, so you can't beat his prices either. I mean, $2.
No, Tom's price is always reasonable, and he's always willing to talk as well. Speaking of which, he's talking.
There's the guy. Man himself. Membership secretary and tube salesman.
Exactly. Here's the center of sound. Call it the center, because the speaker was underneath, as I recall.
Circle of sound.
Circle of sound. Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah. Can you make it out? What does it say there? Is that circle of sound?
Yeah, circle of sound. That's exactly right. I kind of like these. Their own weird way. They had different ones with different dial faces. This one kind of reminds a little bit like the more of the speedometer style. Ribbon speedometers of the era. And you just turn the dial and the needle kind of went swept like a speedometer from that time. Here's a Telefunken Partner 500. This is actually one of the last ones made in Germany. It's probably like mid-70s. Like a nice mid-level portable. Nice radio. Didn't seriously look at it or entertain buying it. I had to think very carefully, so I kind of passed. Didn't even check. Sometimes it's best to kind of look the other way. But you can tell this is from actually, probably like maybe like early 70s, because it still stops at 104, and I don't think they went to like 108 until I think it was like mid-70s. This might be like an early 70s. And we have a Night Star Roamer 2. And tube tester.
New York City, USA. All right.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, wow, so it's 8:53. I guess I should sort of do a cutoff pretty soon. Because we've been humming along. This is a nice fiber. This RCA.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
That leatherette is sharp.
Some alligator going on.
Yeah.
Alligator, fake alligator.
Yeah, they're pretty reasonable. Nice looking. I like the look. It's nice, gold dial face of the speaker grill. Sharp little radio.
Some of those little portable sets, had 3-gang tuning condensers and weren't bad little portables. There's a nice Zenith AM/FM behind it. And usually what you run into on those, especially with the white dial, is that they're always, they're never that nice,
It's got the special zenith dot on the dial.
With the dot for the Zenith FM station, test station.
Indeed. Indeed. And a GE reel to reel. So, hey guys, why don't I should for everyone's benefit, I realize I ran past time, is probably maybe I should sort of stop it here. Now what I could do is the next show, we could either pick up where we left off, or maybe we have a couple other options to look at. I know Mark Best has still lots of his collection to show. You know, I'll also leave it up to you guys whether you want to see more of this or just give you enough of a taste of what was at Brookline this spring.
How much would you estimate, John, that you had left that we didn't view?
I would say I would have to probably fill a good part of a second meeting without too much trouble.
Well, maybe we do a little show and tell and we kind of finish up with the show. And
Okay.
we can go on from there.
All right, we can do that.
Maybe rope in a speaker or do something a little bit different than we've done a lot of show reviews lately. If
Yeah, exactly. I know it's been
like you see or hear, let us know. Anybody want to present something, a technique, a set they restored, anything you might think would be of interest to the group, drop us a line.
absolutely. We're all in, and you know, Paul, you and I can talk offline, see if there's anything else that comes to mind. But we certainly enjoyed having you guys on as always. And I want to thank everybody for attending and wish everybody a great upcoming weekend. It's right around the corner.
Nice and good news.
That's right. The weather should be decent. So try to make the best of it.
Enjoy.
Alrighty.
So
See you next time. Thanks for coming. Y'all come back now.
And
Thanks, John. Great presentation.
you bet. It was fun. Thanks as always, guys. I always learn something from everybody here. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. And yes, Larry, I'll throw an email response, if not tonight, tomorrow, so we can get back to that woman.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, just like I said, our objective isn't to tell her what she wants to hear. Our objective is to, give her an honest assessment.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'll be interested if Ross has any opinion, but I gave you roughly. I'm trying to give a rough, maybe somewhat on the generous side, but it's tough. Consoles are always a tough market, like Paul said. It's hard to find people who want it.
Yeah, I would give her a range, maybe with the middle and in the middle, a median in the middle, so that she doesn't get a distorted idea of what it's worth.
Yeah, and so many people, it's so easy to jump on eBay and look at the price and say, look, they're asking $400, and you have no idea whether they got it. And and usually when you're selling consoles, it's pick up at the house, because there's no way you want to bother shipping unless you want to arrange a Trailways, pick up or something. Otherwise, it costs a ton of money. So,
Right.